Okay, guys, so Tuesday started out like every other work day that I usually start with. I wake up, I work out, I record my videos, and by that time, my daughter is kind of waking up by then. Um, and I got everything posted, I got everything situated for all of the tasks that I need to get done by myself. And after I met with a friend at a park with their child, and we had a little play date, and she asked me a question that I actually had to pause and think about. And she asked me like, "How are you doing?" And for the first time, I really thought about how to answer that question. And my first instinct, or the first response that I typically gravitate toward, is looking at all the things, all the positive things that are happening in my life. And the general consensus is that everything is great. I'm doing well. I'm, working really hard, doing all the things that have been scary, and it's working for me. But she mentioned something, and it made me start thinking about it a lot later. And I realized that I didn't really know if I was okay or not. And I don't know exactly what was triggering whatever was happening for me that day, but I felt this like huge wave of anxiety, and I didn't know where it was coming from. And when I got home, I felt like I was having an allergic reaction to something. And typically around this time of the year, since I've moved to Oregon, I've had these allergic reactions to stress. That's what I'm kind of expecting it, or that's kind of how I'm identifying it, because it seems to be the same thing. And but this time was a little bit different. So I broke out with this rash on both of my arms, on my forearms, and typically when that happens, it usually stays and then it goes away. But for some reason, it hadn't gone away, and it started to itch, and it spread all the way to both. It spread from my forearms all the way up to really my shoulders, and it wasn't anywhere else. And I was so upset because I had planned this. I had planned the week of content. I was ready to pop it back on my stories and, just have conversations with you guys. And all of a sudden, everything was at a halt, and I couldn't physically. I just wasn't able to do it. And I cried so hard that day because I felt like I was ready to get back in and continue doing what I was doing. But a lot of transitions have happened. I stopped working with my business coach. Our time together was over. And I think a lot of things had just been building up, and I was kind of trying to suppress them because that's my default, to really just keep going without taking a second to rest. And since I've had my daughter, it's been nonstop, you know, building a business, working on that as much as I can while also raising my daughter. My husband works, so he's at work most of the day, and I was doing all the things, making sure the house was clean, making meals, all of these things that you guys all know as parents. This is just what comes with the territory. And I was putting 100% in every single one of those areas. And I, little by little, became more and more burnt out. And I had been asking for help. And I just felt like, even though I was asking for help, I wasn't really feeling any relief. And I was really angry with myself, honestly, because I felt like I should have done a better job with asking for help. And I felt like I was doing everything that I could to do that. And clearly, because of the fact that my body literally gave out on me, I was just in distress. I kept thinking like, well, I have to go back on and, do all these things with my business because that has to continue to flow. I'm still a mom, so I'm still raising my daughter and I still have to give all of my energy that I can to her. Meanwhile, I'm also a wife and I'm a stay-at-home mom. So all the other duties that come with being a stay-at-home parent is a lot to handle. And it was hard. Honestly, it was really, really, really hard for me to swallow that pill and really think about it from the perspective of, what if I cannot do the things that I'm doing any longer? What if there's something really wrong with my body? And we all know that when we get sick, we go down this rabbit hole. When we get sick with the unknown of what's happening to our bodies, we go down this rabbit hole of, what if I die? And that's a reality for a parent, especially because there's a lot of things that we are keeping together. And if we were taken out of that equation, a lot of things, if I'm being really honest, life would go on because it has to go on. But at the same time, that feeling of all of the duties and things that we would be leaving behind if we were to die suddenly or whatever the situation is a lot to handle. And that in itself, just those thoughts just made me extremely scared. It made me angry because I feel like, why do I have to do all of this alone? And, building a business, everyone talks about how, especially those first 3 years of building a business is really the time that tests your grit, really. And doing that while raising a daughter, on your own, although I am married, I'm spending most of the day nurturing and raising her and doing all the things that parents do. And the thought of not being able to do all of that was really scary for me. And I had to take a really hard reality check because the more that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about how upset I was at myself for not delegating as much or not putting myself in a position to actually receive more support. And I know now, even as hard as it feels to really ask for support and receive the support, I know that I need it because I can no longer continue doing the same thing that I have been doing for the past year. And all of you who have been parents for longer than that, you guys have probably experienced this same exact situation multiple times along your journey. And although this is a really big setback for me, or the feeling of a really huge setback, I know that there's going to be a lot of different times where I may contact the same type of situation. So I just wanted to come on here to let you guys know that I truly believe that we cannot continue to just try to do all the things. And as much as we feel that we are capable of doing it, we probably are. But I was actually listening to a video that I saw the other day on Instagram. And I'll actually have to find the person who did it because I'm horrible with names and I can't really remember, but I remember their face. What she mentioned in her video was, even though just because there's a lot of things that need to be done, it doesn't mean that we have to be the ones to do it. And oftentimes, because of my history of growing up, with my history of just how I am naturally. I'm naturally a nurturing person who prefers to spend my energy outside of myself, and that is a really hard thing to navigate when I'm setting myself in a position to do all of these things. And it doesn't help the fact that I have ADHD, or my brain functions in a way where it's hard to sometimes communicate what I need. It's hard to communicate in general what's happening in my head. I oftentimes tell my husband that I wish that, people could just be in my head so I wouldn't have to actually say it. But now I'm just rambling. But the whole reason I wanted to put this video up here on YouTube is because honestly, it doesn't matter how it may be perceived that people have all of it together. They have all of their ducks in a row and they are making it look like it is easy, effortless. They're doing it effortlessly. This does not mean that they are not feeling burnt out. It does not mean that they're not going through these moments where we have these reality checks, and it literally, if we are not paying attention to the things that we need, it is literally going to hit us in the face one way or another. And for me, my body completely shut down. And as much as I would love to continue to do all the things, I also have to prioritize rest. And that was one of the main things that I was not doing. I was not getting enough sleep because I was always the last one to go to sleep and the first one to wake up. And I feel like I need to be able to have that time alone so that I can work on my business, so that I can brainstorm and have a second to think about the things that I want to come on to my videos and my stories on Instagram and talk about. And if I don't know how the lack of sleep is linking to these stress outbreaks, if they are even stress, it could be I could have had an allergic reaction to something. I still don't know what it was. But I know that if I'm not getting sleep, I'm not going to be able to function. And I had to learn that the hard way. There are some people in the world who learn from other people's experiences, and there are some people in the world who just have to go through it in order to get it. And for me, it depends on the situation. I'm great at learning from other people and learning from other people's mistakes. But I'm human as well. And there's times where, I want to push myself because I have this burning desire to always continue to learn and grow. And that can be my downfall sometimes, but the more that I experience life while being a CEO of a business and being a mother and being a wife and all of the other roles that I play in my life, or my other identities that I have while navigating ADHD and all of those things together, it's a lot. It really is a lot. And if you've heard it once, you've heard it plenty of times. You have to prioritize your health. I have to prioritize my health, and I am going to do that. So if that means coming on to my stories less often because I just don't have the time to do it, or I am busy doing something else that needs my time and attention, then that's what's going to happen. But the whole reason why I started my business is to support parents who are navigating autism and ADHD. And it doesn't matter how much support you may have in your life or how much support I have in my life. If I am not making a conscious choice to prioritize my own health above everything else, then I'm not going to be of use to anyone else. And I'm really not going to be able to reach my goals because I won't be here in order to do that. And that's the reality of the situation. I think we're taught in the society it is selfish to think about ourselves. It is selfish to put ourselves above our children, above work, above our relationships. And that is completely not true. And I do understand that there are different types of people in this world. And there are some people who prefer the world inside of themselves. And I feel like those people are more likely to, I feel like those people, it is, sorry. I feel like it's a lot easier for those type of people to really, you know what? I don't even really want to go down that route, to be honest. This is a really long video.